He may yet become president. Established 1850. Ask for H. Lee and Companies, Boots and Shoes, manufactured at Allentown, Pennsylvania. Centennial Medal awarded. H. Lee, H. B. Koch. September 14th, 1884. Dear Miss Moore, I was mighty pleased to hear you sent for your sister. It does my heart good to know that worry won't be plaguing you any more. I hope she'll be a great comfort to you, and Frisco's arid climate will agree with her lungs. I hope you don't mind, but I've asked Sheriff Pearson to watch out for the two of you. What you wrote about Gambit setting Wallace to following you around has been galling me something awful. I don't imagine Wallace being dead is going to deter Gambit in the least. And he's just the sort of lowlife who wouldn't hesitate to use your sister to persuade you to see things his way, if you catch my meaning. I hate to be the one speaking plain about this, Miss Moore, and I certainly don't want to scare you. I just want you to be on your guard is all. Just know that Pearson is one of the finest rangers I ever served with, and he's aware of the situation. He won't meddle, it's not his way, but he will step in to assist you if you ever need him. Now that's out of the way, I must say I was mighty surprised to hear what you had to say about Miss Lottie having a brother. I was privy to the fact that Miss Lottie had a sister because it was Lizzie who introduced me to Miss Lottie in the first place. Lizzie Strickland was one of the most promising Pinkerton agents I ever had the pleasure of working with. Bill Pinkerton always said she reminded him of Kate Warren. When Lizzie came to our agency about 3 years ago, Bill assigned her to me. I guess he thought I'd take the best care of her without underestimating her on account of her being a woman. She was a fast learner, had a nose for sniffing out trouble, and had a wit as sharp as the tiny dagger she had encased in the hollowed-out heel of one of her boots. We were a great team for 2 years. We solved a lot of crimes together, many of them thanks to Lizzie and the fact that, as a lady, she could go places I couldn't. At the beginning of last year, however, something about her changed. She caught hold of a lead on something she refused to share with me, said she couldn't involve me for personal reasons. She started going off by herself a lot, something not even a lady as tough as Lizzie should do in Chicago, especially not at night. It was then I took to her following. I didn't want to pry into her personal affairs, but I also didn't like the idea of her taking unnecessary risks. Lizzie had always had my back, and I guess I felt this was my way of having hers. One night I followed her right up to the back door of the store, Mike McDonald's establishment. She walked in like she owned the place, knew all the smoking girls and the dancers by name. She disappeared into the ladies' dressing rooms, and the next thing I knew, a doll dressed up in silk and feathers with a red wig on, kohl around her eyes, and lips the color of blood, flew past me on her way out to the gaming tables. I'd seen Lizzie in disguise before, but it was only then I realized she'd gone undercover as a smoking girl at the store. I kept following her until she disappeared into one of McDonald's private rooms. These were gambling rooms he reserved for his wealthier customers. I knew I couldn't follow her in there without a plan. If I did, it might put her in danger. So I just hung back and waited. After about an hour, Lizzie ran out of the private room looking real shaken. Shaken wasn't something that often happened to her. The woman had more nerve than most men I knew. Old Gambit stormed out after her, swearing up a storm. He was clutching his arm at the wrist, same spot you saw his scar. Bleeding all over the place. Lizzie had apparently bitten him hard. I knew agents who had dealt with Gambit in the past and knew he wasn't the sort to give up easy. So I realized I needed to cause a distraction for Lizzie to escape. I hope you won't think less of me, Miss Moore, but it was the one and only time I ever thrown the first punch in a saloon fight. My involvement in starting the fight, however, was why I didn't see the real cause of Lizzie's distress, something I didn't learn about until it was too late. I'm still unsure why Lizzie was working undercover at the store, but what I do know is when she entered that private salon, not only was she harassed by that snake Gambit, but her true identity was betrayed. One of our own, Agent Artie Baintree, had been in that room and recognized her. He was paying a gambling debt to McDonald by moonlighting as a bouncer at the store. He recognized Lizzie and outed her. When Lizzie didn't show up at the office the next day, or at the store in disguise again the next evening, I went around to her apartment to confront her about what I'd seen. That's when I discovered her body. She looked as though she'd just lain down on the sofa for a quick nap between shifts. Turns out someone had poisoned her. I figured MacDonald was the man who ordered her death, but after Baintree disappeared before I could track him down, and then his body washed up on the riverbank a week later, I was never able to get any confession or proof that MacDonald was directly involved. I know Gambit didn't kill her because he and the man that sewed up his wrist spent the next few days nursing their wounds in jail after I started the bar fight that night. Now that I know Miss Lottie had a brother, however, and that somehow both he and Lizzie were killed by the same man, I'm not so sure MacDonald was behind it. Murder isn't really his style. By chance, did Miss Lottie give you a name? I wouldn't ask you under any other circumstances, Miss Moore, but would you be willing to ask Miss Lottie about her siblings again? I've already wired her for more information, but it's been a month now, and I still haven't heard anything. Not sure if the subject is still too painful, or if she just doesn't trust me enough yet. In the meantime, please take care, Miss Moore. You're never far from my thoughts. Yours very truly, Matthew Hickman. Continental Union Telegraph Company. Telegram. Sent by D.N. Received by L.F. Time 3:27 p.m. Date September 23rd, 1884. Utah Central Railway Station, Frisco, Utah Territory. To Mr. Matthew Hickman. Mr. Hickman, I'm so terribly sorry to hear about Miss Lottie and your loss. How awful for you both. I've done what you asked, and gladly. However, Miss Lottie won't talk. It's as though the night I found her inebriated in her rooms didn't even happen. I will keep trying, however, for you. Lily Clara Moore.